I have to tell you all, first of all, what a great privilege it is to be here with the Pacific Council. I have great respect for, admiration for your commitment to all things international. And it's a privilege for me to be able to be here today to talk with you and share some thoughts. And I thank you for the invitation. But here I am, winding up in a neighborhood with the very familiar name of Bunker Hill. Now, there is obviously a real difference between my Bunker Hill, the battlefield in my home of Boston, Commonwealth of Massachusetts. For more than 2 centuries, that battlefield has been virtually unchanged. I mean, really. But throughout its somewhat shorter history, California's Bunker Hill has been constantly changing. And indeed, what was once a community of high-end homes overlooking Olvera Street is now the re-energized center of a revitalized district for the arts, music, culture, and commerce. And frankly, you cannot overstate how much that is true about the rest of the world. We are part of a 21st century international landscape that is constantly changing. Our top priority continually remains our economic strength. It is the source of our influence in the globalized marketplace, and it is vital to everything else that I just talked about that we try to do. We are pursuing economic policies that reflect the dynamic nature of the era in which we live. And one of the central pillars of our leadership is to negotiate and adopt 21st century agreements like the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, and the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership known as TTIP. Make no mistake, this is not your parents' or your grandparents' trade agreement. TPP is the highest standard trade deal ever reached, period. It improves governance by setting high standards on transparency, corruption, and government accountability. It defends the rights of men and women to collective bargaining. It requires every country to refrain from using underage workers and unsafe workplaces. It sets a high bar for environmental protection, for clean air, clean water, and wildlife preservation, putting it on a par with things that we always complained about because other countries didn't do them. Now they will. It enhances fairness by compelling governments to ensure that state-owned enterprises compete on a level playing field with privately owned companies. Think of the consequences of that step. And it establishes strong, balanced rules to protect intellectual property and the 40 million Americans working in creative and digital industries, which I don't have to tell you is a huge issue for California film studios and for Silicon Valley. At the same time, we have mobilized a 66-member international coalition that is taking the fight directly to the murderous thugs of Daesh, killing its leaders, shrinking its territory, cutting its supply lines, and bombing the revenue sources on which it depends. I just, as I mentioned, returned from Iraq, and it is clear, and I say this with all the chastening of a war I fought in which we always heard reports of progress. And I look at these things pretty carefully as a consequence, but I can tell you that it is clear on the battlefield, we are making progress. Daesh has not taken one territory, one community, and held it since last May. And we've recovered 40% of the territory that they had claimed. And we will defeat Daesh. Our world may be filled with perils, but it is absolutely defined by boundless opportunities and boundless possibilities, by hopes for security and growth. This era of change and of globalization, of interconnectedness and of new alliances is coming whether we seek it or not. Yet in our best tradition, as California has demonstrated in building an economy that's the envy of the world, and as so many generations of Americans have proven again and again, we will not shrink from the challenges before us. We will overcome them, we will turn them into opportunities, and we will make our country stronger. I am confident of that. We will move forward from the new frontier to the next frontier. And we will do so with characteristic American imagination and courage and perseverance to advance our interests and our ideals at the same time. And we will thereby shape a future that makes possible our highest hopes for peace and prosperity at home and across our ever-spinning, ever-shrinking planet. Thank you.